My hand's stable, I feel able to turn the tables. I could do this, just keep moving, keep your hands up, stupid. I feel lucid, a new view, and I can see the end, I can see my future, I can view it. It's right there for the taking. Everything I've ever wanted, dreams are just waiting. I just gotta fight for it, willing to die for it, willing to like soreness, I just need to hike for it. I'm standing up 'cause I've had enough. I won't give up, I'm a champ. As long as I'm breathing, I'm not retreating. I could be bleeding, I'll take a beating and keep on proceeding. I'm not fatiguing, 'cause once I enter the ring, I'll be undefeated. I got everything I need to be the greatest I could be. Watch out, I'm here now. Big mood, no doubts. Big moves, big mouth. Hit hard, knockout. I come from a different pedigree. Destiny don't mean anything. I make everything in my life come to life. Manifest, see the light. Intuition be my guide. This is how I have survived. I'm standing up.
What is up, Rio Hondo Prep football fans? It is week 5, and you all know what that means. It is time for the showdown. 2 undefeated teams, two CIF champions defending their title belts, if you will. The title belt unification is on the line, if you know what I mean, between Division 9 champion Rio Hondo Prep and Division 10 champion Torrance High School. This matchup has been circled for quite some time, especially after last year's 29-9 victory for Rio Hondo Prep over Torrance right around this time of the season as well. So after Torrance went on to win CIF, Rio went on to win CIF. It was kind of like, man, both schools have a lot of guys back next year. It could be quite an exciting game once they get together again. And wouldn't you know it, they are both undefeated. And it's just kind of has this this fighter feel. I know some of you guys might be into UFC, but you know, boxing traditionally has been kind of the combat sport. And when 2 fighters go at it in the ring, a lot of times undefeated, it's like, all right, who's those going to go? And especially if 2 guys have championship belts. And in boxing, for instance, there's 4, maybe 5 different entities, association, I guess, if you will, for boxing. And so when a guy wins all the belts, like we saw, I believe Alexander Usyk win not too long ago, Alexander Usyk, he became undisputed when you get all the belts. Well, when you fight another champion and you beat them and you ended up taking their belt, well, that's called a belt unification. So for those that don't know, of course, but I'm sure if you're watching or listening to this podcast, you're a big sports fan and probably know those things. So an unofficial title belt unification, if you will, on the line on Friday night out at Torrance High School, specifically on the in the stadium, the historic, well-named, beautiful stadium, Louis Zamperini Stadium, and we'll get to that man a little bit more here on the end of the show. But I'm excited for this one. I know you guys are. I know the Torrance players are. Rio Hondo is as well. Anytime you get a championship fight, really, it's must-see TV, right? Yeah, the celebrities come out and everything, usually with, Vegas or whatever, wherever the fight is. And when there is multiple belts on the line, it's kind of like, oh, we got 2 champions going. And so that's how this week feels going into it, because even though Rio beat Torrance last year, well, they went on to win their CIF championship division behind us. And honestly, that game may have been what put them in Division 10 and us in Division 9. So 2 pretty equal teams here, if you think about it. according to some computers and Cal Preps and rankings and things, which are too, I don't know, they're too intelligent for me. Artificial intelligence, whatever you want to call it. I don't trust the machines, but here we are in 2024. There are some projections of Rio Hondo Prep as a 19-point underdog, and I've posted plenty of that content on there as well. So this is the first game truly of the season where when you look at the records, you look at projections, however you want to phrase it, where Rio Hondo is the official underdog. And so I think they embrace that role. I think that is a badge of honor for all Rio Hondo Prep teams, especially those that have had success on the gridiron, like Rio has this season already. So Rio Hondo's the underdog. That's not surprising by any means. That's awesome. That's how Rio Hondo wants it to be. A great opportunity here for the Cares to take down a champion and to go on the road, hostile environment, a great atmosphere, and face a good football team that is undefeated, flying on all cylinders. We saw the undefeated Maranatha Minutemen a few weeks ago. Well, I think we got a little different giant here to slay. If you know what I mean, a big public school. And if you want to get the feel really for what Rio went through in the playoffs last year, look at last year's Torrance game and look at this year's Torrance game. Really, these are the types of wins that people said Rio Hondo could not put together successfully if they were to get to, a higher division like Division 9 last year. And you need some luck in that as far as health goes and things. But make no mistake about it, if Rio is going to excel in the postseason, hopefully get to the postseason because nothing is guaranteed. It is going to be opponents like Torrance and that they're going to have to beat in consecutive weeks, like we saw last year with Orange and Vista del Lago and St. Margaret's and of course Santa Monica. So this game, I try to hype every week up as best I can or get a message out there. This really is the game of the year. And I know Brentwood is on the schedule still. They've been beating Rio in league play the past few years. I know the trip to Northern California is next week to take on a very well-coached, great team in the Kings Academy Knights. But right now, it is fight night on Friday, if you know what I mean. It is time to lace up the gloves, step in the ring, and once that bell sounds, all the hype's out the window. We're this champion. Well, we're this champion. Oh yeah, who have you played? Who have we played? It's out the window. It's football time. It's time to step up and deliver. And who can either last all 12 rounds or, who can lay that knockout from out of nowhere? Who can declare that they are in fact the owner of both belts, if you know what I mean. So they don't do that in high school football or anything, but that's just kind of from an imagery standpoint, if you will, the theme going into this is like, you want their belt, you got to go get it. And no one's going to do you any favors. You're on the road. Again, who knows about weather or what it's going to be like there. You got to show up and do what you can do. And that was my challenge to the guys last week against Bellflower. Well, you're playing a much more talented, well-coached team than probably the team you saw, the past couple of weeks. And that's not to take anything away from those programs because Marquez, Maranatha, teams have played very hard and they're going to have good seasons after it's all said and done. But there's a different animal here with the Torrance Tartars. So it's fight night. Let's go. Strap them up. I hope the boys are ready. And I know the fans will be ready. And I've challenged many of you to get out to the games. I know it's far. I know it's tough traffic. It's off early work. Well, man, you got to find a way to get to this one. Because how often do you get to see two undefeated teams? That happens quite a bit. But two defending champions, and not just that, two champions that were one division apart. So I can't paint a better picture there for you than for that. So I hope you guys will get in attendance for this. And if nothing else, man, turn on that NFHS network. Hey, it's cheaper pay-per-view than some of these other championship fights out there. They're like $70-$80 or whatever for boxing and UFC. Man, it's out of control, but small price to pay on the NFHS network. Tune in. The broadcast team will be there, and we're just so excited about this game on Friday. Can't even begin to tell you. I hope you guys are feeling it like I am. It's only Tuesday as I'm recording right now, and Friday night's too far away. I wish we were kicking this thing off Wednesday morning. So anyway, you guys will be hearing this Wednesday night, and now I want to talk to you briefly about our guest today on the podcast. We always do a game preview, right, or just kind of a little pump up. A few minutes or just my monologue, if you will. And then we get to a guest, and it's been some great ones throughout the season thus far. A lot of Rio Hondo Prep alumni and things. It's just kind of a chance to show how important the program is and how it's developed over the years. And we have an absolute legend really on the podcast today in Mike Whiteside, who was a member of the 1990 undefeated football champs. They were also the 91 Southern regional finalists, meaning they were one game away from going to Sacramento and playing for a state championship in basketball. That team also lost the CIF championship, Southern section in basketball. And then I believe maybe went to the semifinals in baseball. I could be wrong on that, but just an incredibly talented group of guys. And they're most notably probably known for basketball and kind of what they did as being one of Rio Hondo's greatest basketball teams ever. But I thought it was fitting to have Mike on the show today, kind of the guy that in that era of Rio Hondo, that's kind of when teams really started to go out and play schools that maybe they hadn't before. And I'm not totally sure of all the history. Forgive me, Mr. Dowd, and some other Rio historians if I got that wrong. But I remember hearing about it anyway, because it was just before I started going to kind of Rio games in 92, 93. But the 1990 team and 1991 basketball team, 91 basketball team, they went to Washington, D.C. and played a big time private school over there. They got laughed at when they were announced as the starting lineups because there was a bunch of 5'8" guys and I think a 5'10", 5'11" center and Todd Carson. So Mike Whiteside will share all those stories with you. He played along some many leaders and RHP greats that you guys probably see at Rio games all the time. Bill Lee, John Lee, Todd Carson, Rick Johnson, who runs the chains over there on the home games we have. Jeff Fairley, who's the trainer on the sidelines for Rio to this day, working there. John Carrillo, I'm trying to remember everyone. Rod Bazuzzi, whose nephew Rain Pollock was on the podcast a few weeks ago and had some more big plays last week. There's Rio connections here that are truly special. And I want to tell you something about Mr. Mike Whiteside, who now lives up in Redding, up in Northern California. And we're trying to push him to maybe come on down the freeway to that Kings Academy game. But first things first, I got this text from Will Tarico, who coaches the junior high program. He's the voice, he's the eye in the sky for Rio Hondo Prep varsity games and everything. But he also does a great job of kind of looking at the stats and record books and everything. And he sent me this text. I recorded this with Mike last week, so we didn't get to discuss this, but I thought this was kind of interesting. Will said Mike Whiteside is 8th all-time career rushing yards with 2,360. Noah Peninari, who is on our current roster, as you well know, is 9th all-time with 2,314 yards. So if all goes well for Rio Hondo, Noah Peninari will be surpassing Mike Whiteside with, let me see, I was never good at math. Sorry, Rio Hondo Prep. 46 yards to tie Whiteside and 47 to go over him. So the argument with guys like Mike, guys who played back in the day with their stats and everything, will be like, well, we beat everyone. Really, the games were over 45 points or more in those days. They just called the game after halftime or the third quarter, and so we didn't even get to play. Well, I will rebuttal that, Mike, because I understand that. I hear you. In today's game, the games do go 4 quarters, but often it is Coach Carson pulling the dogs off if there is a big lead. And, Peninari, I think in the first 3 games, he only had like 10 carries or something like that. So the guys on our squad now, the game's not be called officially at halftime where they're only playing half a game. But a lot of times you don't see the high numbers from our running backs or whatever, because we spread the ball around to different guys. And Coach Carson gives a lot of different guys opportunities. It's also to keep guys healthy, right, with a small roster. So Noah P has been running the rock for Rio since he was a freshman. Had an incredible year last year, especially in the playoffs. And the junior is poised, I think, to climb those RHP record books and all-time leaders and this and that. But we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. More than anything, it ain't about the stats or the numbers on paper that we see. It is about the football players themselves, the young men that we produce on the field. When you think of Noah Peninari, man, stud football player. You think of Mike Whiteside. Oh, man, I can't tell you how many guys are like, I was so excited. He was so excited to listen to him coming up on the show. Mike Whiteside was the man. So, hey, we all talk and joke about these things because it's fun to reminisce and to make arguments about eras and this and that. But just know Mike Whiteside, hands down, one of the greatest RHP football athletes, really RHP athletes of all time, but certainly made an impact on the football field as well as everything else he did. So Fun interview with him. It's rather long, so I'm going to try to wrap this segment up, my portion of this whole thing up as quick I can, because it's about a 45-minute interview with Mike. And I do want to say, through our Zoom last week when we did it, Mike's picture kind of froze, got a little choppy. The audio was fine, so just bear with us there. The second half of his interview, the video does get a little bit cleaner, like you're seeing kind of now. It matches up with the voice and the picture. So that wasn't anything on his end or my end. That's just how the connection is sometimes. But we got through it, and just an absolute honor talking to him about Rio football, why it's special, why he continues to follow it, from the top of California up there in Redding, and also some fun memories and things that I think will get people jacked up, ready to go take on big time public school, and be that David to the Goliath that the Cares often are. I generally will bring up a rule, to talk about a rules portion, just something not too specific, but just something to kind of keep us in the right frame of mind and things. But I'm going to change that up today for a very special reason, and you guys will see here why here shortly, and then we will get to the interview with Mike Whiteside. Bear with us today; it's a long episode, but another reason why I felt the need to put it out on Wednesdays, to kind of let people break it up and give them a chance to listen to it all. Plus, I'm just being carrying here. It's a long drive out to Torrance on Friday, so I'll give you guys plenty to listen to get you pumped up, ready for the game against the defending Division 10 Torrance Tartars. Let's see here. So we are playing at Torrance High School Friday night, and the boys will be setting foot on Louis Zamperini Stadium. And Torrance High School, make no mistake about it, they take extreme pride in their stadium, the name of their stadium. I followed some of their social media accounts, and they're all about packing the Zamp. The Zamp, I think, is their nickname for the stadium, as Louis Zamperini's nickname was as well at times. So they are fired up for this game out in Torrance. Louis Zamperini was a Torrance High School graduate, originally born on the East Coast, I believe, but came out to California, went to Torrance High, ran track there. So it's very, again, fitting that the stadium is named after him. And for those that don't know the story, of course, and I know most of you do, but we're just I wanted to cover it a little bit, just break it down so that we get in the right frame of mind of like, hey, these guys take pride in setting foot on a field that has this incredible man's name on it. And Mr. Zamperini is an inspiration to all of us, really. His life has been documented through various books, a movie in 2014 specifically, unfortunately when he passed away. But just an incredible story, and I'll try to go over some info here as a quick summary, of course, and then we will get to the Mike Whiteside interview. So as I mentioned, Louis Zamperini, Torrance High School graduate, ended up going to USC and ran college track there. And again, I'm just going to bounce over some very, very quick, some bullet points, if you will, for Mr. Zamperini. He went to college at USC, ran track there, actually participated in the Olympics in 1936. Is a distance runner, the 5,000 meter race. He finished, I think, eighth. Let's see. Chance of winning. Anyway, I'm not going to get too caught up in all the details, but Zamperini finished eighth in the 5,000 meter distance event at the 1936 Olympics. And let's see, in the time of 14 minutes, 46.8 seconds. I don't think I could drive that distance in that amount of time. So rather impressive there. Again, I believe those Olympics, were they in Germany? No, I don't know, not 36. Yeah, maybe it was. But anyway, he was ran a college career at USC, and then was named, of course, to the Olympic team there in 36. After graduating USC in 1940, Zamperini enlisted in the United States Air Force and was a pilot. Let's see, excuse me. He was posted to the Pacific. Okay, aviation cadet in 1941. Anyway. As you guys are probably well of the story, and it was, again, the film Unbroken in 2014, which kind of gives you all the information here. He was shot down. Him and his crew shot down. Most of the guys died. They were at sea. I think I said 47 days, just kind of there in the ocean, just just hanging out in the raft, I guess. And then on their 47th day adrift, with almost little food or water, Zamperini and his co-mate there, Phillips, were picked up, unfortunately, by the Japanese Navy, and they were in captivity. They were beaten. This was August of 45 after the event in, let's see, 43, I believe. But anyway, he eventually made it back home. Had some tough times with some, after reliving all of that, or having to think back to things that you had gone through and experienced, just horrendous conditions that I won't go into. But just had a very tough time when he came home, even though it was to a hero's welcome. Not unfortunately, but fortunately, I will say, Mr. Zamperini's story is rather incredible, and I encourage you guys to go look this up and read this for yourself. Heck, it would be a great thing to kind of read on your way to the game as uh, you enter Louis Zamperini Stadium. But Zamperini was later basically became an evangelist. He discovered Christ and everything, from Billy Graham, who led a crusade there in Los Angeles, and in 1949 at the encourage. Let's see. Yeah, he reluctantly agreed to attend this event in Los Angeles that changed his life. And Graham, excuse me, not Graham, but Zamperini would go on to be an evangelist himself. He would go so far as to go face later on and pretty recently, actually, 1950, which was only 5 or so years after the war and after he was released as a POW. He actually went and saw some of the guards who tortured him while in captivity, him and his friends and everything. And basically, it was a theme of forgiveness. And Mr. Zamperini, through Christ's love and through just trying to bring people to Christianity, did so actually in just the small act of telling his guards that were captors, I believe, themselves as imprisoned as war criminals, express forgiveness to them. And Zamperini later was told that a lot of those guys ended up becoming Christians themselves as a response. So an incredible man, an Olympian, a war hero, someone that sacrificed for our country, watched fellow Americans die, and made it back and spent the rest of his life really as someone that was trying to tell his story of inspiration, of not giving up. And I probably haven't done his story justice, but I just kind of wanted to do a quick little note here. And it has been 10 years since Louis Zamperini passed away, died in 2014, as I mentioned, the summer of 14. So we just surpassed that time. And I got to tell you, if you're the Torrance football team, I can't see how you don't play inspired football every time you set foot on that field. So Rio Hondo, make no mistake about it. It's a special place and somewhere that I am honored that we will be playing at on Friday night. Can't say that enough. I know Coach Carson has talked to the boys and given them this story probably a lot better than I did justice to. I might flip on that movie the 2014 movie Unbroken, just to kind of get in the right frame of mind, maybe before the game. We'll see. But I just had to share that with you because, me, Coach Carson, so many, we are so grateful for the men and women who've come before us and paid the ultimate sacrifice and have just given so much for us. My grandfather was in World War II. Again, I have his photo and his flag. He made it back, but he did receive a flag later on there. My freshman year when he passed away. And so it is one of the greatest possessions I have is my grandfather's flag from his military service, because thankfully he made it back, and everyone else came about after that. So Leo Mora, thinking of you as well at this time as I talk about someone as brave and courageous as Louis Zamperini. So that's the stadium we're going into on Friday night, and I hope you guys are ready to rock and roll. It's going to be, I want the Cares in saying this, the Cares play football with respect. We play hard, we play passionate, but we play classy. And this is, again, no knock on Torrance High by any means, but I think last year they definitely took us lightly. Kind of the eye test, they didn't think much of us and kind of were shocked by that we were beating them last year. As a matter of fact, the interview I did with the chain crew at the end of the year last year, they brought up that moment with kind of Torrance and how they were very surprised that Rio was beating them, and did in fact beat them 29-9 last year. And I looked at last year's score, and it was Torrance didn't get in the end zone until the fourth quarter. They scored 3 points in the first, 0 in the second and the third. Rio Hondo 8 points in the first, and then 7 each of the remaining quarters. So it was a hard fought defensive game, if you remember, just very physical, very intense. And it's going to be one of those games, I think, coming up tomorrow night, or excuse me, Friday night. It's going to be played maybe a little lower scoring than we're used to. I will say this about Torrance is they are battle tested this year. They are 4-0. Their first 2 games, 1-score affairs. They beat San Pedro 24-21. They also beat West Torrance 30-26. And then they kind of pulled away from some teams in St. Anthony 28-7 and El Segundo 38-19. I will say with those schools I'm looking at right now, again, this is no knock on the teams that we have played, but I think those teams are far better competition, far superior teams to anybody that we have faced, really. Maranatha, that game, we had a tough one there at where we out in Marquez. They played hard, played physical, but I look at those opponents. And again, it's not to knock any of our opponents, but the competition Torrance has played has been better than ours, and that's why they've had some lower scoring games. But I think this team, if you look at them, also, everything starts and goes with their senior captain, Jake Silverman. He wears number 5. He did a lot of like wildcat type stuff, I think, last year in the game. But he's 6'1", 215-pound running back. He's linebacker as well. He's hands down their best player. And they got other guys too, but with not having many stats to look at or anything, that's kind of what we have to go off of. I thought he had graduated, but no, in fact, he's back for his senior season. So Rio Hondo, hope they're ready to go. You're not playing a Pauley. You're not playing a Bellflower on Friday night. You're playing a defending champion, a team that wants your belt. They look at last year's loss probably and think, man, how did we lose to those guys? All right, they won Division 9, but we should have beat them. And they are not going to take you lightly this year. They will be fired up. I don't know them at all, but I don't want to project anything out too much, but I think Rio, when you go into this environment, you never let any atmosphere, no team, nobody, and I mean nobody intimidates us. Nobody. We go about our business. We do our thing. We do our warm-ups, and we play the football game. And you guys have done a great job of that. I'm just echoing that to our fans, to our alumni. There's a real way of doing things, and I expect that to happen and continue on Friday night. I have no doubt about that. So Rio Hondo Prep doesn't really go out of their way to intimidate anyone. We just go out there, warm up, handle business, let the play do the talking, and that's how I think the boys can win this game again. But by it, as a 19-point underdogs, I don't know where that number comes from. Again, I stay out of that stuff, and I think, hey, you gotta play the game. So it comes down to blocking, tackling, and making adjustments and getting the ball and making some big time plays. So I really hope the boys are ready to elevate a little bit this week, because it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait for it on Friday. The worst part will be the drive, but we will get there and we will make it happen. And hopefully it is a night we all remember, the night that 2 championship teams clashed in, late September of 2024. So it'll be a fun one. Let's get it going, right? Let's get it going. You can do it, guys. I believe in you. And I know the RHP faithful does as well. All right. I have said plenty. It is time to get to our interview with Mike Whiteside. And some of you guys might have to break this up or fast forward through me rambling away and everything. But it is what it is. When you got the podcast, you want to try to get your message out there, say what you need to say, and just try to keep encouraging, keep the faith and keep the fire going, because it's a long season, even though it's a quick season, if you know what I mean. And here we are in week 5, over the halfway point. 5-0 versus 4-0. It's a special time. 2 good football teams going at it. Can't think of any other way to wrap up the month of September. All right, enough for me. Let's get to the man of the hour, an absolute stud back in the day, a guy I wish I had seen play. I've only heard the legends, the stories about him, and we're going to have some fun with this conversation that I had with Mike Whiteside just last week. Here he is, Mr. Mike Whiteside. All right. It is now my absolute privilege to bring on the program, one of the greatest athletes Rio Hondo Prep has ever had go through its school. And that is really saying something when you see the list of athletes that Rio has had. Joining us tonight from Redding, California is Mike Whiteside from the class of 1992. Mike, what is going on? Good to see you, man.
How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Mike, I've heard so many stories about you, mostly from your teammates, Todd Carson, Rick Johnson, Paul Clark, Bill Lee, John Lee, just to name a few names there. You guys had such a special group, and I was like, you know what? You know who I want to talk to? So I want to talk to Mike Whiteside, and here we are. Finally, we're sitting down, making it happen. And I got to tell you, Mike, a lot of people have mentioned you to me and said, you got to talk to Whiteside sometime. So this is big. This is a big night tonight, bringing you on the show.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot for me. I'm not really the camera guy, but yeah, I'll do my best.
Hey, that's all you can ask for. Mr. Drain will not be evaluating your performance, to my knowledge. He's just gonna be listening and chuckling.
Evaluator.
The silent evaluator? Is that what you call it? That's fantastic. Mike, before we kind of get to your Rio days, and even before that, fill the people in. I said you're up there in Redding. What do you do these days? It's been since 1992 since you were at Rio, but what are you up to these days up in Redding, and kind of what's the past, a few decades been like for you?
Well, my wife and I own a couple care homes up here in Redding for the developmentally disabled, and we just opened up a barbecue truck not too long ago. We have a daughter. She's 18. Her name is Kaya. For the most part, we just basically do family stuff and work stuff. Pretty much, with an occasional vacation squeezed in there and a bunch of little fishing trips.
That is very good stuff. Yeah. I heard big time fisherman. What up there in Redding? I mean, there's a lot of good opportunities for that. Have you always kind of been that outdoors guy, or what?
No, not at all, really. Well, yeah, once I got to Mount Care, I was, Mr. Ostegard pretty much made me love Mount Care, but I love Mount Care. But, after that, it was kind of not really in my repertoire at the time until I got up here. And ended up my best friend is a fishing guide. So he put me on the fast track to fishing, learning, and all that good stuff. So, yeah, he pretty much got me into it. And, yeah, that's about my favorite thing to do right now.
Oh man, that is great stuff. Yeah, just calm and quiet and doing your thing. You talked about Mount Care. In recently Mount Care made some big time news up there. It was caught up in some fires and was not looking good. One of your former teammates, Bill Lee, who is the manager, property manager up there. He was defending it as long as he could, and eventually had to leave. And sounds like there was somewhat of a miracle on the mountain that day, and Mount Care still stands now. But I know a lot of people's hearts and prayers were with Wrightwood, especially the place that you mentioned, one of your favorite places on the planet.
Oh yeah, mine included. Prayers for sure. That's a blessed place. I mean, I can't even picture a better place for a kid to be able to look forward to going to. I mean, yeah.
Mount Care is special indeed, and we're all inspired by what transpired there. Mike, if you could, let's go back in time a little bit, back to your Care Youth League days. I know you grew up in Duarte, so that man. Once again, I tell you, Mike, I have all these great guests on, and every time I talk about their Care days, all they want to, they're all Atlantic Pirates. I mean, I'm just surrounded by pirates. It's like this invasion, but here we go once again. Proud Atlantic Pirate, which I know you are. So talk to me about Care and Atlantic Pirates.
Well, I don't know. When I think of the Atlantic Pirates, for me as a youth, it just translates into winning. I mean, we just won all the time. It was a tradition of winning. We would win, and then the track meet would come around, and we just it was just domination all the time, pretty much. Mr. Lee had us going. So I don't know. That was some of the best fun times back in the. We played jeans and shoulder pads, that type of stuff. It was awesome. It was great. But yeah, we played I think Coral was our biggest rival at the time. And we always ended up beating them at the end somehow. We'd pull it out.
Smash him. Well, I know Mr. Lee, as you mentioned, in his garage at home, he still has, the team names have changed, but he proudly still has a giant Atlantic pirate flag in his garage. So I thought you'd find that interesting.
Oh yeah, the names have changed. You said
The
I
Care
didn't
Youth
know.
League, yeah, they
Oh,
changed the Care Youth League
okay.
names about 15 years ago or so. And so for us old timers, we're like, wait a minute, no, it's still the Gators, it's still the Atlantic, it's still Superior, it's still, But hey, things change, but we're holding on to it. You're a pirate, Atlantic pirate forever, I gotta imagine,
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
no doubt.
definitely. I think
Well,
that might be one of my next tattoos.
yeah, I love it. The big A or something with the Lancer
Just a
logo.
full-blown pirate man.
There you go. Oh, that's awesome. You go for it. That's cool. Um, I got to ask about growing up in Duarte and kind of being there, Care Youth League. How did you? I always ask guys this, no matter where they're from. How did you find Care Youth League? For me, I saw a kid carrying football gear one day at school, and I was like, "Hey, where's he going?" Do you remember how you got involved in Care Youth League back as a little guy?
No, I think my mom was actually searching for somewhere that she deemed safe to be because she didn't think Duarte was a safe place for me to be and play and all the rest of that stuff. So she pretty much found Care Youth League, which obviously changed my life forever. And I don't know, she just made it happen. But I spent like a majority of my growing up down there at the field, going on trips in the summer and all the different stuff. It ends up taking a bunch of your time that would end up getting you in trouble if you didn't have that in your life. I was that kid, so it basically kept me focused and in a safe environment.
That is really cool. And you know what? I don't think much has changed as far as care goes. Maybe there's a little less activities sometimes, but it seems like, I don't know, that seems to be a good formula that has worked over decades as far as Care Youth League is, hey, we're going to keep you busy, which is a good thing. It keeps you out of trouble and maybe doing more positive things because it sounds like, I know I've talked to Rod Bazuzzi before, who I think grew up in Duarte there too around your
Yeah,
time.
right
And
in the
yeah,
same area.
same area, right?
Yep.
And the Clarks, were they too far from you down the road also?
Oh, they were pretty close. They're in Duarte. They're up in the flats area. It's
Yeah.
it's it's pretty close. I
Yeah.
used to
Oh,
ride
you
my
got
bike up there.
okay. Good times, man. But yeah, you think Care Youth League, I mean, it seemed like a place, and I think it still is that kind of that place where throw all these activities, throw all these sports at kids, and maybe it seems like a lot, but I think overall you benefited from it, and so many other people have. As far as Care Youth League goes, I mean, yeah, what would you say about your Care Youth League experience, minus all the great wins and everything? We already heard about that part.
Um, well, I wouldn't have experienced, half of the stuff that I got to experience as a child without Care Youth League. The trips and, like I said, Mount Care and snow camp and all the different stuff. I wouldn't have had any access to any of that. I don't know. Just my mom putting me in Care Youth League made my life 10 times better than it would have been without Care Youth League for sure. All the leaders and everybody down there ended up being, my father figures. So because I didn't have a father growing up. So I mean, and some of those people were like their character was amazing and it couldn't help but rub off a little. And I would try to glean as much as I could. And then, especially when now that I'm older and think back, to all the little things I might have messed up around the time, I can still remember the lessons that I was supposed to learn. So, I mean, I've been able to apply that and then pass that on to my child as well. So it had to happen for me to turn out the way I was able to turn out.
Yeah, and I was told that your mom, who you just mentioned, she was adamant about you being there at Care, and she was a big volunteer herself. Worked a lot with Mrs. Clark, Mrs. From what I'm told, Mrs. Amato, Mrs. Mena, several others. They were circus ticket booth, people, and she was someone that was very dedicated to you, not just going to Care, but eventually Rio Hondo Prep as well. How did I mean, not all kids end up going to Rio from Care, but that's kind of the path. And what was that like for you? Was it like a no-brainer, or was there some challenges as far as like, hey, now you're going to Rio after all these great times as a youth in Care Youth League?
I don't think I went to another school.
Mm.
I'm trying to remember, but I don't think I ever went to another school, and I literally don't know how my mom afforded it. So I mean, she was working by herself. She worked from like 4:30 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. I have no idea how she afforded any of the stuff she afforded. So I
Man.
mean, but she did great by me and did all she could. There was never any distractions in her life. There was no men coming in there. She didn't drink or do drugs or nothing like that. She was just focused, like just a rock, like you would expect a matriarch of a family to be. So,
Wow. That is good stuff. And it's a constant. I see it at Rio, especially. It's just, Mark and I talk about this all the time. There's so many great parents. And yeah, when they see kind of the benefits of the program to their kids, they want to be more involved too. But it sounds like a very, very special woman. And I know a lot of guys from your former teammates I talked to made mention of her and kind of what she was like. So I also heard that as we kind of transition into the Rio days now, something Rick Johnson said was that your house, Mike, was kind of the Saturday night team hangout house where there was a lot of swimming, a lot of Nintendo going, and as good of an athlete as Rick was, you were a great athlete yourself. He said you destroyed him quite a bit in Tecmo Bowl or whatever. But Saturday nights, you guys bonded and hanging out at the Whiteside house. Is how accurate is that?
that's very accurate. I don't know how much I beat him in the game or whatever. I can remember we'd be in there and I could hear helicopters flying around the house and I could see the spotlight in the backyard and all. It was a bunch of craziness going on, but yeah, we'd all be in there. I mean,
Just hanging out.
yeah, just but it was like so natural with us because I was either playing or with these guys from the time we were like 6 or 7 all the way up through high school. So I mean, I was very accustomed to seeing everyone and like playing pickup games, everything, all the whole, just growing up with these guys. I'm pretty sure there's not a lot of teams that have spent as many years together as we did.
No, and I think that has a lot to do with the great success you guys had. Was not just your talent, not just your coaching, but it was this bond. We talk about it all the time on the podcast, and it's great for me to see now the current team, their parents talking about, yeah, these kids, they just want to do everything together. I think that's healthy. That's really good. And I remember my team in high school, like Friday night batting cage. We go during baseball season. It was unlimited hitting from 9 to midnight, and we go in and we were just together. And so those memories, it seems like no matter who the team is, it's just being together in high school, in those bonds. Although you guys had it probably better than anybody with how good it, and I know how close you guys all were, and it really kind of, well, it started in Care, but junior high, from what I heard with you guys, Mr. Drain was your coach in junior high. He wasn't even coaching in high school yet, to my knowledge, and you guys formed this bond really in junior high that we are going to be the team of Rio Hondo Prep, and kind of all that bond started in junior high at an early age.
Yeah, like flag football, I think, huh? Pretty sure it was flag. But yeah, I remember we were playing one game, or we were about to play a game, and the other team's coach came over and they were like, "Hey, would you mind if my kids spike the ball after they score a touchdown?" And Mr. Drain was like, "No, that's okay." And so we were like, "Oh, can we spike the ball too?" And he was like, "Yeah, he gave me that look like, yeah, don't get carried away." So I mean, I think we won like, I don't know, like 62-7 or something. And at one point, Mr. Drain was like, "That's enough spiking." Because there was they weren't spiking the ball. They came over here to ask us if they could spike, but there was no spikes going on. It was the craziest stuff. But yeah, I remember that. Mr. Drain, it was super cool. What was your question again? I'm sorry, I probably got lost.
I get talking to myself as well, but no, just that bond started in junior high where you guys, and I heard you guys even had some athletes that ended up leaving, but you guys, the bond you guys had, it started in junior high with Mr. Drain, who would later go on to follow you into high school, basically. Right. Yeah, it all started there, and we all played for Mr. Drain, or most of us listening. As far as a junior high coach, it sounds like he was fun, but also a little stern, which we know that from him. Any memories Any other memories in junior high with Coach Drain?
Well, I just remember that we played flag football because in care, I think the parents were complaining that most of us were too big, which is odd, because I'm like 5'7" and about 210 pounds. But anyway, back then I guess I was too big, and we're literally like all the same size except for Bill. Yeah,
Yeah.
one giant, and then all of us are like 5'8". So yeah, we couldn't play. We all kind of watched Care Youth League play their junior high championship stuff, and then somehow Mr. Drain worked it out to where our flag team could play tackle against the champions of the tackle year. So I mean, we just discombobulated those those kids. We were tackling kids, we were picking up kids and running halfway up the hill and jumping on them. It was the craziest stuff ever. It was the most fun though, because we didn't get to hit all year except for that one game. So, I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
that always sticks out in my mind. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't you guys play like you guys Pop Warner or something?
yeah, we played Pop
Yeah.
Warner. That's where
Interesting.
I mean, that was probably the scariest I remember being, like, because I remember just being a kid. I played corner, right? So we were playing against this team from Compton. So they do a sweep to my side, right? And I remember thinking to myself, like, this guy's gonna like blow me across the whole field here. So I made myself into a ball and made him trip over me somehow. So I'm feeling okay about myself because at least he didn't score, and I ended up making the tackle. But the Compton side team was like, "Hey, you can't just stand there and let the guy hit you. You have to run in there." So I remember like they'd start sweeping towards me, and I would just run to the back into the backfield, and try to make the. That was like a lot of stuff clicked in my mind in Pop Warner about football. That's
Yeah.
another thing about us too. Like everyone on our team's IQ of sports was probably ridiculous. I mean,
Hmm.
just too many years of learning and hearing and seeing and doing of it. I mean, yeah, it's great times. We used to play on the 8.5 footers they used to have outside back there.
Oh
We used to have
yeah.
the coolest games out there. I mean, just dunking on each other. Yeah, it was just like life was a constant workout, but we didn't look at it like working out. We were just playing and it just worked out.
Hey, and I gotta imagine these are some great Christian men, leaders, and things. Todd, Rick, and Bill. But I also know these guys when the competition gets flowing. There's some trash talking out there. I've been on these courts with these guys. It's been years, but I've seen the switch turn. Was there
Oh yeah.
gentlemen, of course, but once the ball goes up or the ball's kicked off, it seemed like with a lot of you guys stories I heard is there was a switch and it was like, oh no, it's on now. It's on now. Whether we're playing each other or someone else, competition brought out the best in you guys.
Yeah, we always play hard, and not too like out of control though. You know what I mean? I think Mr. Johnson used to tell us to play at a low positive, like so not screaming, yelling, and hollering, but just amped and ready to go. I didn't like want to give penalties and
Mm.
technicals and stuff like that. I showed emotion a couple times and I really got teed up just the two times I tried it. So I was over that. I mean, just like, it's hard to even like mention like the countless lessons that I would have learned in every sport from all of these leaders and coaches and players. I can't even, I wouldn't even be able to explain it, but I know I do my best to pass it on to the kids that I coach. Oh,
Very nice. Yeah, I've listened to or heard from a few of your teammates and of course Mr. Drain as well, just about you. And again, it's kind of hard to know where to start with all this because the stories are legendary about you guys. I know when you guys were freshmen, a few guys played varsity, with Dave Carson, Rod Heaton, those guys, Randy Johnson, our current offensive coordinator. They fell short in that championship game, but as far as just football, we'll talk basketball after this, but football, your 4 years at Rio. I know you had some competitive years and then fell short. I think you're in '89, but in '90 you guys just dominated. If you had to sum up kind of playing football at Rio, what was that experience like? Just kind of a broad question there, but just your 4 years of playing football at Rio.
Um, um, summing it up, probably winning and learning.
Mm.
You know, when we didn't win, we were learning. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I remember one time, I can't remember who the quarterback was for Holly, but I think I was a freshman, and I met him like at the goal line, but he reached the ball past my helmet to score. So I remember thinking like, I can't do stuff like that. That's it's not going to work, stuff like that. I mean, Rio Hondo football, we really just won. That year you're talking about, the year 1990, wasn't as fun for me because, I didn't really like going to school. And I waited till Friday every day, and be happy. That's my favorite day. So then we play half a game all the time. So I mean, it wasn't all it could have been, but it was like 56-0 at half. So
Hmm.
I guess we're done now. I mean, I would have rather have just played every game out if we could have. But I know at one point no one had scored on us through that season. And when someone finally scored on us, like, people were actually mad. They were angry. They were like, "You just gave up a touchdown." I'm not gonna say any names, but they know who they are.
That's fantastic.
That one touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Real Hondo football is like no other. You're gonna have, like you just said, all the camaraderie. You got, I don't know how many men down there now, but those men that are down there are going to be different than the men you find outside of there, and they're going to
Mm.
have different morals and standards that are, the way I would choose to live my life and choose to teach my daughter and the kids that I coach. So, I mean, I don't even know what else to say. I loved it. I miss it. I wish I could do it all again, but I wouldn't even play football and basketball if I could do it all again. I would just play baseball.
Wow. So Todd Carson asked me that, actually, to ask you that you're a great three-sport athlete, and it's great always asking guys, was baseball your favorite? Was that your love, or
Definitely.
really?
Definitely. You just put up a video not too long ago where it showed like a press box or something on the football field. It just zoomed by it for a second. But they had a pitcher when I was, I think, in the same year, maybe I was a sophomore. But his name was Scooter Hollingsworth, and he was a big, like, 6'5" dude. I remember he threw this fastball, and I hit it up against that window right there. So it was a big home run in a league game at Poly. I was juiced. So yeah, just the smallest things. I love playing baseball. I remember at one point I was playing third, right, and they hit me a hot one. Poly had a guy on third getting ready to run, so they hit the ball. I caught the ball. I looked him back to the base, and then I faked the throw to first, and then I just ran
Oh,
the guy down. The coach was like,
nice.
"Go, go, go!" So I just ran him down and pushed him with the ball in the back. And I walked back to my base. He was like, "Whiteside, you were supposed to throw that ball." I just remember some of that stuff was cool. The coaches at other schools would always be like, "Man, you're a great player," and all that. I wanted to tell him, all of us are interchangeable at any of these positions. Like, I played running back, but Jeff played running back. Any of us could have played running back. Any of us could have played any of these positions, and we probably would have had the same outcome. So, I mean, just a bunch of athletes that were good together for sure.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting. Like, football was my favorite, but as far like, I went into officiating, and kind of the thing I did the most, advanced the most in, was the one sport I probably liked the least. It was baseball, and I don't know, baseball is a weird relationship. Like, it's a different kind of game for sure. So I always love hearing that unique perspective, a guy that liked baseball the most, especially someone as athletic as yourself. But yeah, it's as far as, I don't understand, Mike, how you play one sport in high school. Like, you and I both sound similar. We didn't really like the whole school thing. I don't know how I wouldn't have gone through high school. Like, how do you play one
I don't
sport
think I
or
would
no?
have made it.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
that's true. I don't think I would have made it because there would have been such a lull and lack of interest during that time. But I just
yeah,
remember getting those yellow slips and just hoping my grades were good enough, and making sure I could just get where I need to be to get on that field. Oh
yeah.
man,
And kids need sports, man. It helps a lot of them. I know it helped me, and so that is good stuff. Yeah, we were just at Poly. I think, yeah, I showed Babcock Field. Yeah, the same, kind of weird, squirrely field of theirs. That's awesome. You hitting a home run there because sticking it to Paulie. That's good stuff. That
And
never
a
gets
couple.
old, right?
Oh
A
yeah.
couple.
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
that's what
Got one up
it's
on the roof too.
on the roof. We'll have to go find it later. That's awesome.
I
Rio
tell all
against.
my kids and my wife all these stories too, but they're like, "Oh, okay, cool. You're Uncle Rico." They call me Uncle Rico and Al Bundy and all these names, so I don't even bring it up no more.
Hey, one of the reasons we got the podcast is to bring on the guys to tell their stories and to document it and everything. And I know they had a little assistance actually in kind of pushing you to coming on the show, right? They were like, "Hey, go on there and tell your stories," because it took some work getting you on the podcast. I'm not gonna lie, it took some work with your with your agents and things. But we reached a deal fine.
Yeah, kind of shy. I'm kind of shy.
Well, hey,
You know,
I'm right there with you. Anyway,
but you do this all the time. You're a pro.
oh, there's a lot of reps. I appreciate it. It's taking some reps. I want to talk a little more about football. You and Rick Johnson in the backfield, thunder and lightning, really. Mr. Drain said Mike was a very fast tailback, which made him a perfect complement to Rick's power running inside and outside, and also made the counters very effective. I've seen some footage of you, Mike, running the rock and scoring touchdowns. Kind of, you were more of a look at guys and run by him type of guy, whereas Rick would run through everybody. Is that kind of the way you remember it?
No, I was going to say that Mr. Dre might have that switched. I think Rick's power is what made my speed work better because they got to collapse on Rick or he's going to get 10 yards of carry. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Rick is a great fullback. I couldn't ask for any better. I remember one time he tackled me, but he knows he did that.
What do you
I
mean?
was I was running the ball and I was just gonna jog into the end zone because I had a clear lane and Rick like cut across to block someone 6 yards deep in the end zone or something and tripped me. So yeah, Bill. I mean, Rick got a tackle. So and he told me he was like, "Why didn't you just run into the end zone?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's probably a good point." So see what I said about learning, like go get past that goal line. So, yeah, Rick tackled me, but other than that, Rick blocked for me all the time. We did this play called a quick pitch 37 where Rick would go straight to the hole, so it looked like a dive, but Todd would be pitching it out to me way out here. So I mean, they would have a hard time with that play, and when they felt like they could do and stop our part, then Rick would run the middle, run up the middle. It was just too much.
No. And what's interesting is that play you just mentioned, it may have a different name now, but it's still run at Rio, and it's a unique play because I always say this, it makes no sense. It doesn't make, you're just trying to outrun the corner, you fake a dive, and it works. It works with the execution of the Rio guys. And I know, they ran it in the 70s, 80s, and sounds like you guys perfected it, but it's cool for me to see the evolution of it all and know that, oh man, at one time, Rick Johnson and Mike Whiteside were running that play. Yeah, I could see how that would be absolutely deadly. That's
double
crazy,
option.
Man. Yeah, what are you gonna?
What
are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and it was pretty far. I mean, like 5-6 yards out, he would be pitching it. So I mean, I'm way past the line already. So yeah,
You're cooking.
That was my favorite play. Yep,
that's awesome.
Yep.
You guys dominated in '90 the football season. I know in '89, I think you guys fell short in the semis, but '90, you left no doubt one of the most dominating runs for a Rio team. As far as, you could say, in 1982, they were pretty good too, but I think 1990, one of the most dominating teams of all time for sure. Led by Randall Johnson was the head coach of that. And I always like kind of paying tribute to Randall Johnson, Gary Lenny also, who were so influential for so many years. They're no longer with us. But if you could talk to us about the architects really of Rio football, kind of both of them side by side, and kind of any funny stories or just kind of the impact they had on you over the years.
Well, Mr. Johnson had a big impact on me because like I was saying, I didn't have the father to like please and impress and have him proud of you. So I would try to do that for Mr. Johnson, you know what I mean? Just play and act and try to be good enough to have him be proud of me and, that type of thing. I mean, But yeah, he was different. I would be jealous of Randy and Rick because I wish I had Mr. Johnson in my corner like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, he was a great man. Mr. Lenny the same way. I mean, at one point we were getting ready to play Faith Baptist in championship. That was for this right here, and for some reason I couldn't understand my assignment at corner, and he was telling me to do something, and I kept like instinctually doing something different. So he finally just kicked me out. He was like, "You get off my defense. I don't need you over here." So the game we played, I didn't have to play any defense, so I felt super rested and everything else. So I mean, and I had my best game in championship, and it was probably a lot because I just couldn't understand and make myself like do what he was asking me to do. So he was like, "Get out of here." But yeah, it was Mr. Lenny was, they expect you to toe the line, and if you were goofing around, they would call you on it. So I needed
Mm,
that. I mean,
mm.
I definitely needed that.
Man, very special man indeed. That is
Definitely.
that's good stuff, Mike. You froze briefly, Mike. What were you showing us? Were you showing us your 1990 championship jacket there behind you? Is that what
Oh
you were
yeah,
showing us?
I just tried to
Th-
move out of the way real quick so you can see it up there. A little
There we
patch
go.
there.
I like it,
Yep.
man. I like it. Yeah, it's out proudly. That's good stuff. This is primarily a football podcast, but when we talk to certain guys about other sports and things, I mean, it just comes up naturally. We got to talk about the 1990-91 Rio basketball team and the legendary run you guys went on. Um, there's so many stories from this team. It was Mr. Drain. I think Mr. Drain's first time coaching varsity because Mr. Dowd has been the coach kind of before that. Um, there's a lot of places to go with this, but you guys lost in the CIF finals. A week later, you lost a heartbreaker in the state regional final, where you guys would have gone on to Northern California for the state championship. But if I from what I've been told, I believe the starting five was Rick Johnson, Todd Carson, Pete Clark, Mike Whiteside, and Jeff Fairley. Is that accurate?
I think that's right. That
Yeah,
sounds about right.
good group of guys. What do you
Oh
remember
yeah.
from that season? I guess timeline wise, I know you guys played in Washington D.C. at one point, well before the playoff run.
No, it's the same as before, just a lot of winning, and we'd walk into the gym and people would laugh at us and snicker, and because we're all, I'm doing the jump at 5'8", you know what I mean, doing the tip off, stuff like that. I'm playing forward, stuff like that. But like I said, we were all interchangeable and everybody could play everything pretty much. So I mean, basketball to me was like, we're all used to winning, so here we're going to continue this on and do the best we can. And we would go, like you said, across the Sidwell friends and get laughed at, and they thought we were a joke coming into the gym, and we blew them out of the water. They didn't even know you could be as big as you want to, but that doesn't mean you're going to be able to play together like we can. So I
Yeah,
mean, just like I was going back to that sports IQ, like you can be as tall as you want, but if we know ways around that, then there you go.
the
Oh
the
yeah.
stories I heard. Todd Carson, I think, was your center at 5'10". Even though you did the jump ball, you guys were all about the same height, and they laughed because you guys were small. But it was that Sidwell Friends game in Washington D.C. You guys were there to like sing in the White House or something, and you
Mhm.
played a basketball game. Sidwell Friends is where a huge private school in DC where actually, I think, President Obama's daughters went there. Like that is very, elite school and things. But you guys, from the story I heard was there was either a hard foul or something. Mr. Drain was on the floor threatening to take his team 3,000 miles back home to the officials or something. And then you ended up hitting a bunch of 3-pointers after that. Talk to me about that story. What do you remember about that?
Well, well, okay. They came out in a 2-3 zone, and basically we shot them out of the zone. And then I think on the fourth one that was about to go in, one of them came up and kind of got under me and made me turn my ankle.
Oh,
So Coach Drain came out onto the floor very upset. That's the crazy part to me right there. It could just stop right there. I just looked at Mr. Drain like, oh, but yeah, he was upset. We didn't come way over here to get people hurt. So if you can't, officiate this game, we'll leave, stuff like that. But that was a great game. I mean, it was a great. I wish I could have played more of it. I think I got to play for 9 points, and that was it. 3 shots. And
Yeah, Fairley or John Lee, they said they were Steph Curry type of 3-pointers. They were from deep. So you shut up that crowd rather quickly. They weren't laughing too much after early on.
well, that's what it seemed like. Only to find out. The real part about it is there Steph Curry threes because I can't dribble. I can't move to my left. So they're only Steph Curry threes because this is where I feel comfortable at. But if I could have moved to my left or dribble with my left or those type of things, I probably could have helped out a little more.
Mm.
Oh
What
man.
if you had to sum it up, Mike? What made that team so good? I've talked to Rick about this. He said you guys were all the same height, so on any screen, you guys would just switch. As far as defensively, like it didn't matter who was guarding who. It didn't seem like who cared who got the credit. You guys just were moving without the ball and sharing the basketball. It seemed like, I don't know, you guys were just born to play together, it seemed like.
Yeah, just teamwork. I mean, it's definitely just teamwork. And we didn't always switch on those screens. Sometimes we run through those screens. You know what I mean? Because we just finished playing football. So I mean, I got 5 fouls. If I need to give you one of those hard ones, then so be it.
Let's
But
go.
yeah, I
Love
mean,
it.
not wanting to let each other down, not having a big ego or I need to score 40 points tonight, or I need to take 50 shots, or there was none of that. If I'm open, I take the shot. If I'm not open, I passed it. It was never a big thing to us. So we wanted to make our coaches proud and have our fans proud. We had some great supporters. They would rock that whole pavilion. You know what I mean? So yeah, we would just try to do what they came to see.
Love it, man. We talked about Mr. Drain and that whole referee interaction. You know what's really funny now, Mike, is Mr. Drain's retired from coaching. And you know what? You know what he does on Friday nights for the Rio home games? This is the irony of ironies. He's the referee host. He meets those guys. He makes sure they have a nice room and air conditioning and waters and towels, and he pays them. Mr. Drain is, he's been helping officials for years. Now he gets to help them, before the games and stuff. So I don't know. That always gives me a chuckle. I know he loves doing it though. So, but for someone like you, that's got to be kind of funny, right? Uh-oh, do we freeze? We may have froze. Pause. Sorry, guys, we froze there briefly. But Mike, as I was saying, yeah, Coach Drain is now the referee hospitality man. I find that rather funny. I don't know if you do, but yeah, it's great seeing him do great work with the referees on Friday nights. Still, it just in a different kind of way.
Oh yeah, and I never know Mr. Drain to not be anything but hospitable, for sure, for sure.
That might be the quote of the night. I love it. We all love playing for him. You mentioned Mr. Johnson, Mr. Drain. I know he could get loud. He'd bring out the best in you. And I don't know, for me, I miss playing for the man just because you never wanted to let him down. He was like I said, he ran on the court for you when he felt it was a cheap shot and you were injured. And I don't know, Mr. Drain, if you had to sum up kind of the impact on him and so many others. Just he no longer coaches. We miss him, but I'm happy he's happy in retirement. But for you, he sounds like so many of us, he was again that impactful man that had really touched our lives.
Oh, definitely. I would say Mr. Drain was the type that he would make me feel like he was happy with me or not happy with me with his eyes. Like he didn't say, Mike, come here, sit down, let me talk to you. Like, he didn't do any of that. He'd shake his head at me sometimes, or, he'd look at me a certain way and I know he wanted more from me, or I shouldn't have did what I just did, or don't take that shot. You're at the penetration line. You just crossed half court. Why are you shooting it right there? That type of stuff. But other than that, I think he treated me very well. And I think when he had something to tell me, he told me, and there was stuff that I needed to know. And I never wanted to let him down, like you said. And I just wanted to do the best I could. But I didn't want to let anyone down, though. So we were out there working hard. I mean, we're all in great shape. I mean, we just all ran all the time. I mean, it was, I don't even know how to describe it, but I haven't seen teams like us after.
Man.
So,
And you guys, you played the same team in the state regional final that you lost to in the CIF Southern Section Championship. You lost by 20, 30 points or whatever it was, and then after a few wins, you go down to San Diego, you go to Central California. Some fun times from what I hear, making that state tournament run, right?
oh,
Staying
yeah.
in hotels and things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was great times. Well, I wish we could have pulled it out, but I mean, yeah, that's
Man,
all stuff I hadn't been exposed to before that. So it was great times. Most definitely.
so close, but you guys fell short, unfortunately. But man, just playing a team and you were right there. Really, you like I said, you lost by a lot to Rebay Academy in the championship. To turn it around in a week and be so close, having the late lead, of course, and then losing in overtime. I mean, to me, the stories I hear about it all, that just sums up resilience, maybe some great coaching from Mr. Drain as well, and just to see that dramatic of a change in such a short time. I thought it really spoke to your guys' character, and I know you fell short, but you had to be proud of the effort still and kind of what you guys did in that short amount of time.
Yeah, but did we fall short? I don't know. Because they threw it into the center underneath their basket and he had to
Yeah,
go the length of the court in 4 seconds. So
yeah,
I don't even think that I would have called that foul myself because I mean if you inbounded the ball right there, you're not planning on even taking a shot anyway. So I don't
yeah,
know. But you win some, you lose some. We still, like I said, we had a crazy winning like career and tradition down there for sure. And I just think that call could have went either way. Um, it was
that,
it was magical, and then all of a sudden the magic was killed. So I don't know.
man,
Yeah, the guy had no chance. He didn't have one chance. He wasn't even going to be able to make a good pass to someone for them to get over there to make a shot. He was literally like at the dotted line when he caught the ball. You got 4
man,
seconds. So, I don't know.
yeah. I've heard that definitely is a major controversy, and
Yeah,
it's
I
just
know some people probably took it hard, but they shouldn't have because they're just doing what we've been doing all this time. Todd was so famous, like people would get rebounds. You get a rebound up here, they teach you, and you bring it down here to make your pass. But Todd's hand is there, so every
yep,
time you bring the ball down, Todd would just go boom, and he'd hit the ball. He stole the ball from everybody. It was uncanny. We were like, man, Todd is just the biggest ball thief. But yeah, just this one time they happened to call it, and it was the time where that guy literally had no shot at even making a basketball play with this ball.
yeah.
So,
That's unfortunate. That is unfortunate, and Todd's talked to us about it, and it's just that's unfortunate. I guess it's there's a life lesson there somewhere. I'm not sure what it is, but I know. Yeah,
we needed Coach Drain to do the hospitality, so we could have had a favor with the refs. Somebody should have thought of that.
there you go, Coach Strain. Let's go. Come on, Coach. Oh man. Someone we forgot to mention, Mike, was Mr. Dowd, who I had the privilege to talk to the last November when Rio was making their championship run, and I'm so glad we documented that, and it was a pleasure to talk with him. I think he coached you briefly in high school. What memories do you have of Mr. Dowd?
Same type of thing. Mr. Dowd would kind of hone my enthusiasm. He'd basically just like that. Like, don't do that, do this. If you want this to happen, you need to do this. Like, just really teaching me the game, and I was just a freshman. So, I was nobody on the team. So I was just trying to make sure I filled the role that he had envisioned for me on this team. So, I mean, I don't know, just that care and everything that they instill into us. And then in turn, we instill in our group of friends and co-athletes it's just something, like I said, I haven't experienced that anywhere else. I mean, yeah, Coach Dowd, I've been knowing Coach Dowd since I was a little kid, and I would go with them up to Mount Care to stay the night with Mike, you know what I mean? Mike Dowd, young Mike. So, I
Wow.
mean, yeah, a long time. So, and back then, I just thought he was a giant. Like, I was a little wild, like, whoa, this
The
guy's
presence.
humongous. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that presence.
He's got this whole mountain to himself,
Before,
stuff like that.
before I forget, I know you saw Mr. Drain a few years ago, I guess, and he he has a way of saying hello, I guess we'll say. And it was actually his son Devin was my teammate. We were classmates all the way through, and Devin was a heck of a basketball player. And rather than say hello, Mr. Drain, probably hadn't seen you in a few years, and he had some news for you right off the bat when he saw you, a few years
Yep.
back.
Right off the bat, right off the gate. I haven't seen him in what, I don't know, like 20 years or so. And I was expecting a hi, Mike. So I was in a hi, Mr. Drain, handshake and whatnot. No, but he walked up and he was all, Devin broke your record, and then kept walking.
Wow.
He
Wow,
just
Mr. Drain.
no details, no nothing else. I don't want to know anything about you. I just want you to know that Devin did break your record. It happened. And that's that. I'm out.
Wow.
It
Leading
was
that was
great.
I believe a scoring record in basketball of some kind. And so you're telling me that little 5-year-old that was running around watching you guys play, he ended up breaking your record. I know Devin was watching you guys there, Mr. Drain's oldest kid. But that's really funny. And it sounds just like Mr. Drain, by the way. So you remember Devin? You remember Devin
Oh
there as
yeah.
a kid watching
Oh
you
yeah.
guys? That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah. Shooting with the best shot any kid ever had. You're
Yeah.
like, why is he shooting like that? He was already dialed in. He's shooting for 3-pointer. He could barely like reach the ball there, but he's still getting good form. It's like, how are you even doing that? It's not even
Watching you
holding it
guys.
to the side and like heaving it. He's just like, ah! It goes into, yeah, he was destined for greatness from the beginning. So,
Yeah,
you know,
great coach, and then of course watching you guys all the time there. So that is really cool. Mike, we won't take too much more of your time. We'll let you go here soon. But I know that you were talking to me off the air. You've done some athletic stuff up there, in your adult years. Up there in Reading, whether it's coaching your daughter or maybe playing some adult leagues and things, it hasn't left you. I know you feel a little older maybe, but yeah, you've kind of kept that athletic competition going over the years, although I'm sure it's a lot different than playing at Rio, right?
oh yeah. Yeah, it's old man ball, 35 and older leagues and stuff like that. But yeah, it's fun. Yeah, but it's definitely, it couldn't never be the same. But
No,
it's fun. It's fun to stay active, try to run around a little bit.
that's great stuff.
Closer, my daughter was definitely, that's one of those things. Like if I didn't go to care and grow up in that atmosphere, I would have never, put my head into the ring for coaching.
mm,
So yeah, but it enabled me to coach my daughter in a few different sports, and it's good times. Most
if you
definitely.
could, if you could, Mike, talk to me about just Rio Hondo Prep. I know you follow the current team on social media and things. You always like some of the posts that I put out there, and the one theme I'm trying to get out to our guys all the time is look, you're playing for Rio now, but there's a lot of people who've come before you who wore the red, white, and black, and they still care in some regard about the success of Rio and how they're doing. And so you're not just playing for yourselves, your family, you're playing for a lot of different people. I don't know how many, 400, 500 miles away, but I know you do tune in here and there, and you maybe not watch the games, 100%, but you like all the stuff we put out. You still Rio football, especially or any athletic, it's still important to you all these years later, or at least an interest for you.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Like I said, I give all of my upbringing pretty much to my
Mm.
mom and Carey Youth League and Rio. I mean, it couldn't be no doubt about it. All my father figures are down there.
Mm. In closing, if you could, I always ask people this kind of, if you have to sum up why Rio football, and maybe it's Rio athletics for you, however direction you want to take it, but why is it unique? What sets it apart? Everyone says brotherhood. Everyone says, oh, this is a great school and athletics and great football program here, but Rio is different. We all know this, but if you had to put it into words, why is it that Rio is successful over all these decades, and why it is special and different? If you had to sum it up and sell it to some people.
Oh, well, hopefully they wouldn't pick me as the salesman, but I would say because Rio is different, like because
Mm.
you're gonna get some care, you're gonna get some concern and love, and about more than just what you can do for them. They care about your spirit and where you're going in your life, and how everything could be better for you, and how you could be successful, pretty much. Um, like I said, I mean, I have quotes in my head that just play in certain situations that are from people that haven't been my coach for 30 years, but it still pops in there when I need it. So, I mean, just without all that, I'm not even really sure where I'd be. It was like the greatest base a kid could have, especially like a single mom that wants her kid to, not be a degenerate or whatever. I mean, just to put him around a group of men that can offer that type of safety and learning and, all the rest of the stuff that goes with being at Care Youth League is, they don't even have anything like that up here. I mean, nothing. I mean, it's so what's different about Rio Hondo? I would say everything. And then they have Care Youth League that feeds Rio Hondo. So I mean, it's built and designed to be different, and it should never change. I mean, I've watched some of the kids when they score touchdowns and they put hands in the air and do all that stuff. I scored a touchdown one time, and it was my first touchdown of the year, and I put a number one up. Not because I thought I was number one, but just because it was the first touchdown. Mr. Johnson called me over to him and he was like, "Hey, Mike, are you number one?" And I was like, no. And he was like, "Why don't you go have a seat?" I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know. It's some of the greatest lessons ever. Because I'm not number one. Because obviously, I would not have scored that touchdown without seven other people doing their job to the fullest. So, it's a team sport, and I definitely wasn't number one. And I understood exactly what he meant after he said that. I don't want to give off the impression of that. You know what I mean? So.
Mm.
I know Real Hondo is different because it's different. And you're not going to find another experience like it.
Man, I love that. That is a great way to go out. Great ending to our interview here. Yeah, Coach Johnson, the lessons, and yeah, you see it to this day. The way we carry ourselves and the way we play, I think, is really what matters. Mike Whiteside, appreciate your time. It has been an honor talking to you. Finally getting to meet you, not in person, but face to face. We'll say. I know Rio comes up to your neck of the woods in a couple of weeks out there in Sunnyvale at Kings Academy. I know it's probably a few hours from you, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see you up there in Northern California, Mike. What do you think?
Maybe so. I've been talking to John, so maybe John, maybe we'll work it out so we can carpool or something.
Yeah, I know Todd's
See.
thinking of going, and he's not too far from you up there in
Oh
Redding.
yeah.
So good stuff, man. Well, hey, we hope to see you. It'd be honored to shake your hand. And yeah, if not, we'll make it happen some other time. But the legend, the great Mike Whiteside,
Oh,
thank you so much for your time, man.
thanks for
It's
having
been
me.
great. You got it, man.
Appreciate
Go
it.
Rio. Go Rio,
Yes,
Mike. We'll
sir.
see you
Go
soon.
Rio.
Wow. Thank you, Mike Whiteside, for coming on the show today and getting us ready to go for the biggest game of the year because it's the next one. But yes, probably because it's been circled for quite some time as well. A rather lengthy interview, but I enjoyed every minute of it. Thanks to everyone for hanging in there, sticking with us. And again, a long car ride. So hopefully you guys were able to enjoy all of that or break it up at least a couple different times throughout the last few days. Mike Whiteside, a true legend, Rio Hondo Prep. I love the stories. I love the memories. I love the lessons that he shared with us there. And yeah, quite honestly, that's one of the better examples, I guess, of Rio and why it's different and why it's special. And it's just kind of like, well, just because it's different. It's different than anything else you're going to experience. So very, very well said, Mike. Again, an honor talking to you. And that group of guys, as I mentioned, Todd Carson, Jeff Fairley, Rick Johnson, special group at Rio. They're of course a little older these days, but man, back in the early '90s, what a team, what a group of guys indeed. And not just that, but the things they've done since high school. Honestly, working with so many different people and young men especially. And so you just really see the type of character development that Rio kids become when you look at the alumni and the grown men that everyone has become. And so that's another reason why we kind of I try to put at the same time, the current team with the past teams and everything, because it all matters. It's all connected, and we're all looking towards the future, obviously, with everything that goes on at Rio Hondo Prep and the character development and things. So here we go. Week 5, Rio Hondo at Torrance, Louis Zamperini Stadium. Hope you guys are ready. I hope to see you all there. I will do my best with all of my social media content and things if you guys can't make it. And yeah, I know that there'll be many people with us there in spirit regardless. of how many do show up. But I think it would be rather impressive if somehow we were able to fill our side of those bleachers, which we often do. And I've looked ahead already, and the bleachers seem to be pretty good size on both sides of the field, from what I can tell. But if not, check it out for yourselves on Google and such. Hey, we may not be heavyweights, if you know what I mean, but we have a championship bout upcoming on Friday night. The Battle of the Belts is on the line, right? Multiple belts, Division 9, Division 10. And I know it's a new season, so you can't, look back too much. You got to look ahead, and can't look ahead too much either, but you got to handle what's in front of you. And in front of Rio Hondo is a 4-0 Torrance Tartars team that will be playing inspired football, trying to get revenge from last year's game, and both teams trying to keep that undefeated record alive. It's going to be fun. That's all I can say. Who's ready for a fight? I know Rio Hondo is. Let's enter the ring and ring that bell. Here we go.
I'm standing up 'cause I've had enough. I won't give up, I'm a champion. As long as I'm breathing, I'm not retreating. I could be bleeding, I'll take a beating and keep on proceeding. I'm not fatiguing, 'cause once I enter the ring, I'll be undefeated.